Hello and welcome back to the Delve podcast. I'm Allie. I'm a staff therapist here at Delve Psychotherapy of Chicago.
And I'm Adam. I'm the Executive and Clinical Director at Dell Psychotherapy of Chicago.
Help us spread the word with this podcast. We're not trying for fame here. We don't plan to run any ads. We're just trying to be as helpful to as many people as possible. So if you find value in this podcast, we ask that you please share it with at least one other person. It'd be very helpful.
At minimum, one other. Feel the pressure.
Feel the pressure. Here at Delve Psych, we offer individual, couples, group, and family therapy. So if you would like a free consultation call, head on over to delvepsych.com. That's DELVEPSYCH.com. And head on over to our Substack. We have a blog that's really awesome. We talk about really interesting topics over there. So head on over to delvepsych.substack.com.
Nicely done, Allie.
Thanks, Adam.
Hey, it is so cold.
It is way too cold.
It is so cold. I've got my blankie today.
Well, I always have my blankie.
Do you really?
At all my sessions, I have a blankie.
Oh, okay. Well, then is it a lucky blankie?
I don't know if it's lucky. It's so much as it just makes me feel more like comfortable.
Nicely done. Well, I'm just catching up to this trend.
Yeah. It gives me the cozy vibes. I think it helps me feel like more grounded. So yeah, even in the summer months, I have a blanket.
That explains why in some of the early episodes you were just sweating profusely. That's not true. I'm making that up.
Yeah. No, it's because my apartment gets real hot.
I could imagine.
But yeah, I went outside this morning to toss my cat's litter, and I almost ate shit because there's icicles on our building, and they're like dripping, and so there's just a sea, like a ice river all down our staircase and all down like leading out to the dumpsters. So I had to be very, very careful.
It sounds like if you can angle that right, this sounds fun, right? Like you can skate your way down.
Oh, that sounds very dangerous, Adam.
Don't follow my advice. At least not about these things.
Yeah, I can sled down the ice. No. Anyways, yeah, it's very cold. We're in the throes of the holidays now. So in addition to it being very cold, we're in the throes of the holidays. So many holidays. And while the holidays can be a great magical time for some, for others, it poses some questions. Some questions about, hey, these holiday gatherings, my family is going to be there, my extended family is going to be there, and I've noticed that when I'm around my family, maybe I don't feel the best.
Yeah.
And so it begs the question, how do I handle this? Do I even need to go to these holiday gatherings? Oh, they're my family. I feel like I should. I feel obligated. But it does a doozy on my mental health, and I notice that every single year. So how do I navigate this?
Yeah. I think it's I think it's an important question. I think it's a constant question. I think this time of year in particular is a real reset mode for a lot of people. It's every year we end up having these kinds of events with all of the expectations that come with them, and navigating that within your family, within your friend network, with your romantic partners, etc. It can be just so incredibly challenging. And I think families change and grow together or apart. Relationships begin and end often because of the events that occur in this time period. Not exclusively, of course, but I don't know. We got skin in the game here. There's a lot of skin in the game.
Yeah. And I don't know. I guess it begs the question, like, okay, say we don't have the best relationship with our family. We're invited to a holiday party. over with the whole fam. And part of us is feeling like, oh, really, really dreading attending this shindig.
Yeah.
What do we do?
What do we do? I think I think it's a really interesting question, and we've hearkened to this in other episodes as well. I think the part of the question is, what are you as an individual trying to accomplish by going? I think clarifying that question for yourself, clarifying for yourself what your motives are, is extremely helpful. When a friend asks me, by the way, on any topic, what should I do here? My retort almost every time is, in order to achieve what? What are you trying to do? What are you trying to accomplish? The answer could vary from, I don't know, I just feel like I have to go, to, I love my mother and this is important to her, even though everyone else is complicated. So I'm going to do it for her. To, I do love these people. They're there for me. It's just hard. You could have all manner of response here, but that points you a bit in your own direction for yourself. We have to take personal agency over making sure that we're clarifying for ourselves our own intentions.
Right. And I'd assume it would be an easier decision to make to go if what's the intention behind it is like, oh well, yeah, I love my family and I want to grow closer with them and create more memories with them,
And did
versus
they agree to that?
did they agree to what?
Did they agree to growing closer and
Oh,
establishing more memories? And because often you're like, I want that kind of sibling relationship where me and my sister are just like locked into each other. And it's like, does your sister want that? Did she ever agree to that? What does your sister
ooh.
think about this whole arrangement? Because it's entirely possible that your vision of family is very different than their vision of family.
Well, that makes me think, at like what point do we just like accept that this picture and idea I have in my head of family maybe isn't possible with these people that are my family. Oh,
Yeah, it's possible. It's entirely possible. You know what's nuts about that too is that if you start to investigate where some of these ideas of family came from, I bet some of them came from the family that you're having a hard time establishing those views of family with. It's very circular in that way, right? Where would you have learned about family from? Partially from your family.
yeah. But also, I guess I'd imagine like TV shows seeing like their dynamics of the perfect family and I don't know, just society of like what a mother should be like, what a father should be like, what siblings relationships should ideally be like. And so I could imagine it could be hard coming to terms for a client or anyone like, oh man, like I don't know that I'll ever achieve that with my my own family.
And I think dealing with this topic, this issue, this kind of phenomenon in your life is replete with acceptance. The solve almost certainly has some degree of acceptance. Accepting people as they are, accepting context as they are, accepting yourself as you are. There's a lot of acceptance involved here, I suspect. But you don't have to just accept, and you don't have to accept everything no matter what. You
Right.
think about what I suspect a lot of people deal with in these dynamics: political and social views that are deeply unsettling to them.
Mhm.
You don't just have to accept that. But if you mean to not accept, my question is why? Why are you not accepting? And how do you want to go about displaying that non acceptance? And for what purpose? So let's say you decide, like, nah, I'm going to pick a fight about this. Why are you picking a fight? As in, like, why are you deciding to do something? Why is fighting the right thing to do? And what are you trying to accomplish by so doing?
Right. Yeah, it's tricky waters. Because and even the question of, is it, I think some people kind of ask themselves the question, is it justified to maybe even not have a relationship with said family member because of differing opinions and views?
Who has the authority to determine that justification? Who's the arbiter there? Who is the person that sort of gets to hold a gavel and say, yes, that is justified, or no, that is not just. Who's that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's ultimately up to the person, each individual person, but I think what that person is struggling with, I don't know, it's some like ominous like person um that has like all of the moral answers to these types of questions, which in reality isn't really true.
Right, right. And I suspect that there's probably other people involved that end up acting as that external arbiter.
Yeah.
But then you're talking about, so let's say, I'm just going to make up some roles here.
Okay.
Let's say that um, you and dad often have differences at whatever holiday gathering, and mom has views on how this whole dynamic should be working. So you're supposed to be there, dad's supposed to behave himself, but if dad doesn't behave himself, you're supposed to kind of deal with that. And she deals with it every day, so just you deal with it. Mom has those expectations.
Mm-hmm.
That's the social construction that I've just outlined there. Everybody's got their roles, everybody's got their expectations, and we do have a clear arbiter. It would seem like within that context that the relationship of import is me versus dad. Okay, if we get along, if we just like tiptoe around the right topics, then everything's going to kind of be okay and everything will be okay. I argue that the actually more important relationship is me mom. I switched from using you to me, but whatever. We're in this together, Allie, you and me together, dealing with mom and dad. So um but if mom is ultimately the one who's bestowing these expectations upon us and we are accepting those expectations, there's the acceptance piece again. And then she's the one who gets to determine whether or not we're abiding by those expectations. We're having a me mom conversation, not a me dad conversation, even though it would look like a me dad
Mm.
conversation.
Yeah, because she's the one like setting the rules, essentially.
And I'm agreeing to those rules.
Right. If I'm playing along with it, um, then yeah, I'm accepting those rules. Um,
And I've got a clear why. I just want to make mom happy.
yeah, I love mom. I care for mom. So if this is what it takes to foster that relationship with mom, then okay, I'll agree to these terms.
So if we have clear in our mind that mom is the more important relationship here, with respect to like not in an absolute sense, but that I'm doing this thing for her.
Yeah.
I'm here for her. She's the one who cares about it. Not only do I have a clearer why for why I'm even entering this context, I have a clear who in terms of who I'm trying to do this for. It also provides me a very clear why and what to do with respect to dad. Doesn't matter whether we argue about politics. Am I trying to convince him? No, I'm here for mom. Am I trying to change the world? No, I'm here for mom.
Yeah. Yeah, that's such a good shift because yeah, I had imagined that people in this situation would only be focused on dad, dad, dad. When really, yeah, it's about what's going on with mom and you're showing up for mom. So
Right. And if we have this idea that like, no, I do want to change the world. The political sphere right now is terrible and we really need change in this country and we need to make sure that we're changing. I argue that picking a fight with your dad is a bad strategy for changing the world.
what? My dad is the one person that if I can convince, all the world will be changed.
Yeah.
No, when you put it in those terms, it really is like, okay, yeah, why are we, yeah.
What are you doing?
What are we doing?
Go volunteer.
Yeah. Um, Question. The mindset of your why being, I feel like I should, or I feel like I'm obligated. Is that
Yeah.
a good enough why to show up?
Well, it's a fascinating why, right? Because it leaves me with more questions. Uh, where is that should coming from? So, and again, in any of these contexts, it's going to be a conversation with myself and a conversation with someone else or my history or some other context. So I feel like I should. We could dig into that, and we'll probably find somewhere along the way where there was a particular thing that I did or didn't have in childhood that I'm trying to cling
Hmm.
to, recover, recreate, create for the first time, or there was a particular conversation. Maybe the way that mom cried the day that I left for college just left me with this sense of like, I have to be here for her, but I can't be here for her because I'm away at college and then I'm away on a job and then I live across the country. How can I be there for her? I can come back for the holidays and I can be here for her that way because I remember how she cried then. Those
Hmm.
like signifying moments, those signifying mentalities can kind of set out for ourselves what's important to us. So these relationships exist within our context and our mentalities are shaped by our context. So if we can explore a little bit more, like what is my own why? What am I doing more? Then I think we can start to uncover where these shoulds even come from and whether we should keep them.
Yes. I don't know if also too there's just like this idea of like, um well, that's my mom, well, that's my dad, and like I should be with family during the holidays. Everyone's with their families during the holidays. And um I don't know, it begs the question of like, just because this person is your mom or just because this person is your dad, perhaps they were very abusive to you growing up, or and and so it's like, even though they hold this title of mom and dad, do we need to still like foster that relationship? um there's uh there's a book I love, um by Jeanette McCurdy. She grew up as a Nickelodeon child actor, and it's a very jarring title, but the title of her book is I'm Glad My Mom Died.
Mm,
um and it's a very clever marketing title, but the book is, it is so powerful because it's basically, you know, the mom basically taught Jeanette her eating disorder. Um,
mm,
and what's really fascinating actually about this book is like she speaks in the point of view of like each age. So instead of like looking back and saying when I was 8, like the chapter of when she's 8, she speaks as her 8-year-old self. So it's
mm.
really, really cool in that way.
It's a glimpse into the inner child.
Yes, absolutely. But I think the whole theme of it is like, okay, just because this person is your blood parent does not mean you need to have a relationship with them or even like love them if the relationship is unhealthy. So I find that really fascinating, and I feel like it can provide a lot of relief to people that are like, okay, it's okay that I'm not feeling bad for not having this relationship. It's okay.
Yeah. I think what's really beautiful in our society right now, firstly, that book sounds incredible. I
Read
have
it.
not read it.
Do the Audible. It is the fastest Audible I've ever gone through.
I love a good book recommendation. So thank you, Allie.
Yes.
Um, I think part of what's fascinating in our current temporal context, if you will, this moment in time, especially from the like LGBTQ communities,
Mhm.
there's a real acceptance, social acceptance about the idea of chosen family.
Yes.
in a way that I don't think we've ever experienced in our history before. My understanding from the history of drag is that this has been a long-term context. This is all from memory, and I'm not an expert on this, but my understanding is that the history of drag culture was very much like you would move in with a mother, and you would actually, your drag name would be whatever name you chose for yourself, and the drag mother's name. You came from a house, you came from a family, you actually lived in a place, and that was actual family that's really thought of as that family. You'll see the older queens having the surname will be the mother's name, the drag mother's name. Um, and I think that was happening back to the, what, 60s, 70s, 80s. But now, in addition to that, I think that there's such this kind of general zeitgeist toward chosen family and really building and constructing that within our social networks. I think what's so hard about it is the fact that if family is chosen, they can be unchosen. But then there's also the flip side of that. Genetic and biological family can also be unchosen. So we've added this element of choice to family that puts us in a delicate little place where it feels like it's got a sense of permanence, but then nothing does. It feels like it needs to have this sense of purpose, permanence, but does it really necessarily? It's sort of this simultaneity of like, I need it to be permanent. I want it to be permanent, unless I really don't. And then its impermanence is very much a feature, not a bug.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess this idea of permanence is because, yeah, I guess like the original idea of family was synonymous with permanence and like a
Mm,
lifelong tribe of people together. So yeah, but that's interesting. Thinking of family as like perhaps not a lifelong unit.
mm. You know what I'm glad you kind of brought up this idea of tribe too, and the kind of prehistory of family. Firstly, there's a lot in the social psychological literature about the way that family affects even the way that we end up constructing societies, governments, politics, policies, etc. Something we get into in the didactic series, one of my favorite lectures to get into. Yeah, so there's this book that I've dug into in the past. It's super niche and hard to find, but from Todd in '85, called "The Explanations of Ideology." It's an exploration of a French philosopher's views on the ways that family ended up implicating policy and government and things of that nature.
Mm.
What I wish I knew more about, and something that maybe I want to explore at some point, I don't know whether anthropologists view family as something of a social construction or like a biological genetic construction. Because if you think about it, we are clearly biologically, genetically predisposed toward one another as humans. We're clearly a social species. Snakes don't really care whether they're hanging out with other snakes. We care whether we're hanging out with other people. So there's clearly some social genetic drive towards socialization. But what I'm not clear on, and perhaps if there's time, I can start to try to dig into the scholarship on this, or if any listener knows any of this, please send it to us. But is that specifically a drive toward blood family? Do we have any evidence,
Mm.
any evidence that there is kind of a genetic biological drive toward blood family? I know that we have some genetic predisposition away from mating and courtship within blood family, right? Because obviously you want to avoid
Yep.
genetic similarity in production of offspring.
Yes.
But I wonder, is there this kind of preference in the raw material that makes us up for blood family? There is that kind of predisposition for other things. Obviously, as we've just mentioned, we are genetically, biologically predisposed to want to be around other humans. We're not snakes. We don't avoid each other in quite that way. And the ways that we avoid each other today are very much a social identity linked construction that's kind of being imposed on our biology. We also know that the attachment drives toward a parent and then later toward romantic partners, that's got a biological genetic component to it. Much to the chagrin of people who wish it didn't, there is that genetic biological drive toward romantic partnership, at minimum partnership. But I wonder if such a thing exists for families. I wish I knew.
Yes. Huh. What's that? Such an interesting idea to definitely like explore more for sure. I kind of want to bring back to we've talked about boundaries before on the podcast. And so I'm wondering specifically when we're entering family gatherings, right? And we've talked about how boundaries are about us and they're not about the other person. They're not about saying, "Hey, Dad, you can't say this thing around me." It's more about what am I going to do if this conversation arises, what am I going to do? Right? So, I don't know. I guess do you have any thoughts about boundary setting when it comes to holiday family gatherings?
Absolutely. And thank you for the reminder as well of the idea that boundaries are about what I will do, not what you must do.
Yes.
So I think, again, connecting with your why in these contexts is really important. Why am I setting this particular boundary? What am I trying to accomplish with this particular boundary? But also, if the boundary conditions end up being met, as in like, okay, now I need to take some action as a result of what's happening around me, how did we pick what that is and what is it achieving? But there is this kind of delicate balance, I think, about a bit between like boundary and acceptance. Why am I setting this boundary? Why am I not just accepting? You have to be clear on what you're trying to accomplish. And also, I will layer into all of this, I do not promise you that any of the things that we're suggesting here mean that you will have a good time, mean that you will be free of anxiety or anything of that nature. This could be a roller coaster. Why'd you choose this roller coaster?
Yeah. Because you could choose not to attend. That's a choice.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I keep going back to that conversation we had about the dad who has vastly different political opinions than I. And I can see why people do fall into the trap of arguing and getting into these heated discussions because I think it comes from a place of I love this person and like I don't know, it makes me so upset and sad that this person can't see things the way I see them because then it feels like they fundamentally don't, I don't know, understand me or don't like validate my existence in some circumstances. And that can be deeply, deeply upsetting. So I don't know. Yeah. It's hard to just accept that in
Right.
a family member.
Right. It's a big ask too, to have another person completely validate your whole existence, as well as to tie your whole existence to one or a few particular issues. That said, I think there are core aspects of identity that if you enter into certain contexts and have those invalidated, let's say a parent using the wrong pronouns, constantly dropping your dead name, etc.
Yeah.
Those are really gut-wrenching experiences, and it is an invalidation of a deep-seated core part of who you are. Lemonnois says that your name is the very first part of a person. So you need to get it right. You need to know what it is. And if that's not happening, then we've missed the very foundation of the human on some
Yeah.
level. But, and you are an individual walking into this context for some reason, some purpose. Your doing this for your own sake, what is that, and why? Because it
Right.
is okay to not.
It's okay. And having, yeah, giving, I would love to give people that permission that like it's okay to not.
Let's keep in mind that's not necessarily without consequences, though. It's like it's my personal view that it is morally okay to not, but that doesn't mean that they won't, stop paying for college or something like that. I can't promise you that.
Right. So again, what's your why for showing up? And I wonder too if it kind of harkens back to this idea of like if we've asked our parents to use our correct pronouns several times, and it kind of maybe goes back to the idea of like the voice, the loyalty, or the leave, right? Yeah. We've been voicing, we've been asking, we've asked nicely at first, and now we're asking more directly. Still nothing's changing. So do we just choose loyalty? Choose to just kind of keep quiet and accept that this is how our parents are and this is the way that they act towards us, or do we choose to leave the situation?
Absolutely. But it comes back to me. I get to guide my own life.
Yeah.
To some degree.
I think this has been a really rich conversation, Adam. And I hope this was helpful for all of our listeners during this holiday season.
Good luck.
Good
and
luck.
remember, love yourself through this whole process, because it can be quite hard.
Yes. All right. New quote on the board. People have a good, and good is in all caps and circled with stars all around it, reason for doing what they are doing. This is stumping me. I don't I don't know. Yeah, what's going on with this quote, Adam?
Well, this is a thing I repeat quite often in therapy. I think when analyzing what other people are doing, very often you'll hear people being like, this just doesn't make sense. Or I don't think that's the right way to be doing anything, and they need to stop. And we forget that people are rational beings. And I promise you that there's no good reason for them to be operating in a completely unreasonable way. So I promise you they are operating with reason. Their reasons are likely just different than yours. And because of that difference, it won't make sense to you because you're biased toward your own views and your own context and your own drives and motivations. Very likely theirs are just different. So as often as we are dismissive of the rationality of their choices, we're also failing to understand them. We're willfully deciding not to understand why they're doing what they're doing.
Interesting. Yeah. I think about, I don't know, maybe we're really concerned about, again, a family member who's exhibiting really unhealthy behaviors. And to us, it seems so dumb. It's like, why can't they just do the thing? Like, it's obvious that they should be doing this and not this.
Mm.
And I'm not saying that like it's necessarily good that they're doing these unhealthy behaviors, but I think maybe perhaps what you're saying with this quote is like there is a reason why they're doing that.
Exactly.
Some kind of self-preservation, some kind of, I don't know, defense mechanism, some kind of means to survival for them.
Mm.
They might not be going about it the best way, but
yeah. And I was talking about this in group the other day, this idea of I will often hear, well, they just want to control the situation. They just want things the way they want it. I was like, yeah, I promise you they will not agree. If you say that out loud, I promise you they will not agree that that's their actual motive.
yeah.
And a rule that I have for arguing with another person, especially if it's like a true intellectually debatey kind of argument, is I'm not arguing effectively. I personally am not arguing effectively unless I can articulate your argument so well that when I say it, you say, yes, that's my argument. Anything other than that is straw manning.
Yes, the understanding has to come first before any sort of argument against the other person. You have to fully understand their point of view first.
And I love when I've seen this happen a few different ways. I'm remembering a time when a friend was trying this with me, and they're like, "So you think blah blah blah?" I was like, "No, that's not what I think." They're like, "But you think blah blah blah?" I was like, "No, that's not what I think." They're like, "I'm gonna keep going." So, great. So then I'm not a part of this conversation. All right. Well, have fun arguing with that straw man over there, but that's not me.
Yeah. So powerful. All right, Adam, I've thoroughly enjoyed this episode today.
Me too. This is a great topic, Allie.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I thought it'd be helpful for many, many people. As always, if you're interested in our services, head on over to delvepsych.com, delvepsych.com, and please do check out our Substack at delvepsych.substack.com. Until next time, everybody stay warm and happy holidays.
Happy holidays.